Fantastic. All right, listen, so we have the two kind of insurance side discussion. What I'm bringing to the table is this, okay? A bit of a different discussion. So let me find out, anybody ever feel like this? A little work stress, a little life stress, maybe sometimes, a few times? A lot, right? So just so you know off the bat, National EAP, my company, we are a resource program that companies like Turn Off Diamond put in place as part of the benefit package for companies, okay? So I want you to understand where we fit in today. So we are a service provider that fits into a benefit platform, okay? So this is what we deal with, work and life stress. You know, a lot of our employees in your workplace and all our services are employer-sponsored for employees, okay? So what happens at work doesn't stay at work, right? And what happens at home does not stay at home. We bring our bags from home to work, and we bring our work bags home, right? And the bottom line is it costs you money as a company when employees show up with their life stressors. Who here, if you think of one employee that is on your team right now that's in the middle of a major personal crisis? Anybody? Maybe? Right, exactly. So what happens? What's the side effect of that? Are they distracted? A little impaired productivity? There's an increase in time off. They might have to come in late. They might have to leave early, right? Their needs are going to be much higher. And your business needs might just get pushed aside for just a little bit, okay? So it's always this balance of how do we ensure our employees are productive, but yet, life happens. Life happens. So what's the bottom line? Job stress. Like who here thinks that the workplace is either pretty stressful or very stressful? Anybody? Okay. And it's the new reality. It's the new reality. I'm not sure what it was like before 2008, but I know post-recession, everybody just went up another notch, and it never came back down. It just didn't come back down. The new norm is to be have a really intense workplace. So it's costing us. And what line items do you think it's showing up in? As the CFOs, as the finance people, where's it hurting you?
The bottom line.
Your bottom line, but where? Like exactly where? What are controllable costs that you think that if you could make a difference in how employees behave, you could save some money? Well, good thing I'm here to tell you the answers. All right, that's where. Right, your turnover rates, absenteeism, people not being there, team impact, project slowdown, medical utilization, right? So if somebody's sick, literally becomes physically sick from their life or work stress, that's going to hit you in all the areas Kevin was talking about and Jeff was talking about. Your legal exposure, if an employee is not behaving well, or if they're impaired in their presentation, if they're doing drugs or alcohol, right? Or increased risk for workplace injury, and then legal exposure, and then misbehavior as well. So some stress symptoms that look familiar to you, I'm sure: back pain, migraines, drinking, anxiety. Anybody have employees complaining of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, right? Often people seek a medical solution, but what's the real solution? It's to manage the actual cause of it. So managing your stress, managing your distress. Distress is the next level to stress. Meaning, we're stressed, but we're not able to turn it off. We're not able to kind of take that break, manage our needs. So now we get into a distressed state. Typically, that's where the physical symptoms show up. It is costly to medically solve these issues. And in the ways they're talking about, it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, depending on the size of your company. This is how people are coping sometimes. I'm sure none of you are guilty of this, right? Next Netflix binge, Stranger Things this weekend, anybody?
Yes. Great
Exactly.
Show. Great
All right.
show.
So this is where your bottom line is hurting you, right? So these are the areas that are hurting your bottom line, sorry. Psychological disorders and bad behavior. Big fancy term, maladaptive behavior, but it means bad behavior, right? When employees show up and they're not so good anymore, when they decide that their irritability, their grumpiness, their divorce is your problem. They don't care anymore. They haven't slept in a week. Right? These are real things, and we're certainly coming from an approach of empathy, but life's hard. Life's hard. People are experiencing grief, loss, all of these things. So mentally, we're not doing so great in America. About 40% of the population has a diagnosable mental health issue. 20% seeking services each year. 18, I'm going to go with now 20% anxiety rate. People have a diagnosable anxiety disorder. It was 18 2 years ago. I'm putting it at 20 and higher because I'm seeing what our college kids are looking like. And a lot of you may have teenagers in the room or college kids, and you know they are anxious. Depression, we're looking at almost 10% of the workforce is showing up with a diagnosis of depression. It's hitting your bottom line with disability costs and with your pharmaceutical costs. So if people, 10% of the workforce is showing up drug or alcohol impaired, your risk is where? Injury, accident, decision-making, discernment, behavior, harassment, violence. So the financial management of your company doesn't just rest with these two fine gentlemen. It rests also in looking at how do we handle the people management side? How do we handle the performance management side? And if you have someone showing up with 40% in their tank instead of 100, you can't performance manage them. You can't say you need to get, you need to rise in your, you need to, meet new goals. You can do that, but the chances of them successfully getting there without taking care of their personal or work stress needs, it's going to be pretty tough, right? So we have to pay attention to the fact that you have human beings showing up and they have needs. So we need to look at the mental and the behavioral health. So what's the solution? It's providing an employee assistance program that is no cost and confidential for your employees. Okay? Now I know that's a bit self-serving. I run an EAP, but there are 786 other EAPs in America. All right? So make your choice. But you must have an employee assistance program for your employees. You absolutely must. Know in the market there's insurance product EAPs. There is standalone EAPs like us. And I think actually that's it really at this point. Really insurance or private market. But this is really a key, and it's a very low-cost item. Like, who here thinks, do you have an EAP? Raise your hand. Not even sure, right? So the finance people are typically not aware of this. And I will find that this is often a great conversation. I speak at a lot of finance groups, and I always get a lot of questions at the end where people go, God, this makes so much sense. How much is it? Anywhere from $20 to $40 an employee a year. Okay? A year. Now compare that to your health insurance spend. Compare that to all the thousands and thousands you're talking about per one employee. I'm talking about 20 to 40 bucks an employee a year, depending on the size of your company. It's not a lot of money to control major risk issues. So what are you getting? The value of the EAP for you. Okay? The value is number one, employee support. In case you don't know what an EAP is, an employee assistance program, we're connecting your employees to counseling and intervention 24/7 every day of the year. There's a 1-800 number, they call, there's licensed clinicians that answer, and they say, what is your need? Let us help you. If it's grief, loss, I hate my boss, I want to kill my coworker, whatever it is. If it's Hurricane Maria, if it's, a Las Vegas shooting, an EAP is there for them no matter what the issue is, okay? It's healthy workplaces. If you're not looking at your behavioral health management, you're behind the 8 ball. Right? Most major companies these days have insane programs regarding managing mental health and behavioral health. They're doing workshops, they're doing education, they're saying mental health is normal, mental illness is real, it's okay, we understand, let's move past stigma. These are conversations you need to be having. But healthy workplaces, EAP, a standalone EAP, not an insurance product woman, a standalone EAP is going to offer behavioral health consultation to you. So as a leader, as an owner, as HR, we're going to give you advice and support regarding how do you handle tricky employee situations. Business value, it drives your productivity and reduces your costs, of course, and better mental health, which is evident. Yes?
So I've been preaching about EAPs a lot lately because I have clients that are in New York, and then they're also in Florida, and they could be all around.
Yes.
And I've been bringing it up with, what are you going to do if you have a natural disaster? Do you have anything in place? Like, you're the owner, you're the CFO, you're the HR person, you're doing everything, you have a 15-man company.
Yep.
How are you handling that and then still controlling your revenues,
Right.
in the right way? So it really takes them out of the compliance aspect as
Right.
well, because the risk is so near and dear to them. If they have the person that they're doing the benefits for,
Yeah.
as well as managing employee problems, that's where you
Yeah.
have the compliance and risk aspect that really comes in on where's the fine line on what I'm choosing for my employee and what I'm doing as a biased employer.
So let me, that's called managing the human impact, right? So having a human impact program, assessing if 9/11 happens again, if Hurricane Maria happens, if Sandy happens, what is my plan to manage the human impact, right? If someone dies in the workplace, what's my plan to restore function again, productivity again? You know, the worst thing you could do as an employer is to not make an expression of support during a very, you know, upsetting time for employees when they lose a coworker or boss. So it's so important to do, it's called critical incident response. So to give you some examples, with the hurricane in Houston, we did outbound calls to over 35 employees that became homeless that worked for one of our clients. We did concrete service response. We connected them to FEMA. We helped coordinate, you know, rides to medical services. We were right there in the middle of it. For Las Vegas, with the shooting, we went on site at the University Medical Center and provided critical incident response for the doctors and the residents for 3 days in a row, 8 hours a day, okay? They needed it. So that's a company that cares, that's an employer that cares, that's an employer paying attention. Because if you're not paying attention to the mental and behavioral health needs of your employees, they're going to burn out, or they're going to be sick, or they're going to leave, they're going to quit, their family problems are going to be an issue. That actually brings me up to the next point, PFL next year. You have choice, you're going to face the problem, put solutions in place, or we're going to avoid it and cross our fingers and hope nobody takes off. Face the problem, provide solutions, give them connections to resources. So EAP also does work-life services, elder care, child care, legal, and financial. EAP counselors connect people to the right resources, help them with Medicare, getting in-home care for their family members so they don't need to be at home, okay? So these are all really big issues. Yes, Jeff?
What size groups?
Any size group can have an EAP. Any size, from 5 to 20,000, it doesn't matter. We work with our smallest companies 10, our largest companies 15,000 employees. Okay, so wherever you are on the spectrum, it doesn't matter. For every dollar spent in EAP, organizations experience an ROI of $5.59, and it's showing up in all those other areas. Okay? So think about that little investment you make in the front. The ROI is in your risk management, your behavioral management, and that's a 2017 report. So these are just some issues we're seeing ranked in frequency at EAP, at National EAP, my company. Family is ranking the highest, you know, divorce and parenting is tough. It's tough. Relationships are tough. Psycho-emotional, that anxiety, 20% of our population now is reporting a serious anxiety disorder. Depression, substance abuse, it's a real problem. And work-related, of course, depending on your environment, people need support. So my gift to you today is just to remind you about being a proactive culture, okay? I might have made you a little uncomfortable as you're listening to this where you go, oh God, we don't really have that covered, and oh God, we don't have a plan. And EAP is just such a simple, easy program to put in place at such a low investment, and the return is significant. We have averted sexual harassment lawsuits. We've delivered counseling intervention for people who felt they were a victim of inappropriate conduct. We've counseled the harasser because an employer says, well, I can't fire them. I want to keep them. They're too high profile, but we need to manage the risk, right? You need a program that can do that. We can help you. The same thing with people who are suicidal, right? I've 3 times in the last quarter, again, was the last quarter? Maybe it's the first quarter of this year, actually. First quarter of this year, 3 HR people called with a suicidal employee in their office. That never happened before, so I'm not sure what's really going on out there with suicidal ideation, but I see at National EAP, we see an uptick. Anyway, so pay attention. Provide real solutions for your employees. Make sure you have a real program. It's the lowest investment. Yes?
How does the employer know that this is paying
Yes.
back, da?
Absolutely.
Do you report back?
Of course we do. So utilization reports quarterly or biannually, and then annual reports, you see how many employees contacted us. The program also covers family members. Why do we do that? Immediate household, because we know when you go home, if you're personally fine, but your spouse is drug abusing, or alcohol abusing, or totally stressed in their life and work, or the kids are driving you crazy, we want to be able to help them too. Okay, so the program applies to immediate household, because if we can fix them, you're going to be a better employee. All right? Yes?
So it's a call-in, correct?
It's a call-in, so it's a 1-800 number. They can email as well. We have a website. There's all sorts, ways to access.
Limited number of
So
services?
typically, thank you, I'm not describing what an EAP is exactly. I'm just trying to give you guys the ROI, the reason why fiscally it's a good thing. You can design your EAP program however you'd like. If you're really, really tight in your budget, you can go 3-session model. If you'd like to be a little richer, you can do a 6-session counseling model. You can design your and what that means is, Stephanie calls EAP, and she says, you know, I had a huge fight with my boyfriend, I don't feel like living anymore, I need support. If she's a 6-session program, we're going to say, we're very sorry to hear that, Stephanie, let's get you in touch with a counselor, let's book an appointment for you. She can have in-person counseling, telephonic, or video counseling, okay? And it's nationwide, and you want to make sure your counseling component, I recommend a 6, but I understand in today's market, most companies are like, oh, let's start with a 3, you know, and let's see if people are using it. So we should be telling you how many counseling sessions are being used, how much referrals being offered. An EAP is also fantastic, not a gatekeeper, but a care manager in the sense that, say you don't want to do EAP sessions, you're like, no, me and my wife, we need long-term counseling, we know we have problems, it's been 20 years of fighting. If you need a qualified referral then, right, you need to know where to go. And you're not going to ask your neighbor, hey, do you know a good psychiatrist, you know? My kid's this and this and this, and he really needs help. People are not talking about it, they're afraid. So our job at EAP is to find you the best pre-qualified, available, solid match relationship for you. So we say, okay, we found someone who's available Tuesday evenings, takes your insurance, and specializes in the area of your need. Okay? So there's EAP counseling programs, and then there's the referral, there's the crisis support. It's really robust.
So somebody gets attached to somebody after 6 visits.
Yeah.
What then? Is that, I mean, I'm sure that happens.
It does happen, and if they're a private standalone therapist, they could make an arrangement to stay long-term. But the goal of EAP really is to address and resolve the issues within the EAP counseling model, and often 6 sessions, that's why I recommend 6. Often 6 sessions is enough. And also what we're doing is controlling your costs. If you're self-insured, or you're experience rated, right? You don't want people going into counseling for 30 sessions, or going to the wrong person, or trying this treatment center and it's the wrong match, and now they go to this substance abuse center, right? You want experts guiding people through this very kind of stigmatized and uncomfortable side of life. But if you look at those rates, 40% of America is dealing with one problem or another.
Yeah,
Right?
if I
Yes.
could add, the evidence for those people who raise their hands with 100 more employees, hopefully you're getting claim data and the data analytics, and
Right.
if you're looking at the RX data analytics, top 5 drugs is something to do with anxiety
Yep.
or depression,
Yep.
and the evidence is there. You just don't necessarily see it because nobody's workplace has a problem,
Right.
but the evidence is there, and it's a great complement to a program for not a lot of cost. And any Fortune 500 company has an EAP
Oh, of
program
course.
in place. So it's a nice enhancement to your benefit program, but true added value to the employees.
It just makes good business sense. It's such a place of exposure. So, you know, getting the word out there and making a part of your great company culture. I have this fantastic quote, which is, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick workplace. Okay? It's supposed to be society, but that's the truth. We sometimes get so used to it just being the way it is, and people behaving the way they do, that sometimes we need a bit of a shakeup, right? Or we accept the status quo. Leadership's been there 30 years, and they behave in such a way, and we're just like, oh, it's 2017, okay? It's 2017. We can start changing things. We can start, engaging the younger voices in the company and looking at our model and looking and saying, should we be doing this differently? Let's wake up, right? It's probably not cool anymore to be drinking, a flask of vodka at lunch at your desk anymore, right? Or smoking a pack of cigarettes 30 years ago. This is the evolution we're in, right? And as you see the media lately, the Weinsteins of the world and all of that, it's a difficult time, right, for them. And if you're a healthy, proactive workplace, this is such an opportunity for you to retain great people and really move forward, okay? So thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your